Horizon Just UX, and this is all atheist arguments answered in 10 minutes by channel Redeem Zoomer. Yes, another Redeem Zoomer. I've been watching this like religious type of video, Christianity mostly. Yeah, it's been really interesting. Like all the simplified way he explains religious topics, mostly Christian topics. Now, I don't know much about Christianity. I've been learning from channels like this, obviously, and I like how he's simplifying some topics because some topics I hear about all the time, but I had no idea what it is about. So yeah, it's interesting. Now a lot of atheist arguments I guess he's gonna answer in this one. Yeah, look, lots of like scientific things and all these things he talks about, obviously I don't agree with, but hey, opinions I guess. But I don't know, we'll see where he goes with this one. Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting. Remember, if you like my Rickson, don't forget to subscribe. So I know which type of videos to react tomorrow. Check out the Rickson, there's a link in the description. I'm Instagram now if you want to follow me, also link in the description. And Twitter too. I post links of videos on Twitter so you don't miss things, I guess. So follow me there as well. Let's do it.
Atheists have a lot of arguments, but they never really think of anything new that the church hasn't had answers to for the past 2,000 years. So let's answer them.
Oh, there we go.
Atheists have a lot of arguments, but they never really think of anything new that the church hasn't had answers to for the past 2,000 years. So let's answer them. Religion causes wars. Well, actually, only 7% of all human wars were caused by
Wait a minute, volume's high. There we go.
religion, and if you remove Islamic wars, that number drops down to 3%. A lot of evil has been done in the name of religion. This is true, but the most murderous people in human history have been atheists. This doesn't mean religion is true, it just means you can't use that as an argument.
See, I don't know about 7%, I don't know which criteria he uses, but I agree with him. Religious causes war. It's like, okay, yeah, okay, religion has caused wars, but then again, religious bound a lot of people. So it's like there was only religion. Now, if like most places only have religion, obviously religion is going to cause war. That's the statistics. One thing I've noticed in throughout the history is like humans have like it's really hard for them to grasp statistics. That's the one thing people always have like problem with grasping. So yeah, that makes sense. If religion caused all the wars and everywhere is this religion, yeah, it makes sense. But then again, like the biggest war of all, like World War II, what caused it? Hitler wasn't religious. Why? Because he didn't need a competition, right? If there was religion, there would be competition. He was like fascist. He needed power all by himself. So a lot of obviously in here, like most murderous people, history were non-religious. I don't know about most murderers, but it's like biggest, like Hitler and things were non-religious, right? But I also think that a lot of like murderous people and people who like uh, you know killed people left and right probably were religious because religion was the only thing there is. So if the one thing dominates everything, obviously like a lot of things that happen will fall under that category. But that's like that's not completely like honest way of saying, just saying like, oh, religion is the problem because it caused all the war. Even if there was no religious war, people wouldn't have caused wars, people wouldn't have killed each other. That's just weird.
Against it. If you were born somewhere else, you wouldn't be a Christian. Okay, and if you were born somewhere else, you wouldn't be an atheist. Everyone's beliefs are shaped by their context. How do you know which religion is true? Well,
Hold up,
somewhere
what?
else, you wouldn't be a Christian. Okay, and if you were born somewhere else, you wouldn't be an atheist. Everyone's beliefs are shaped.
Atheist is not a belief, it's a anti-belief. Atheist is opposite of belief. So I don't agree with him there. Like atheists are everywhere. There's no place where there is no atheist. So if you're born somewhere else, you won't be an atheist. That's not true. You would be an atheist if you grow up that way. Now, if you're born somewhere, there's just like just condition is just like you don't think about these things. You're just religious. Yeah, you won't be anything. But that's not the point here. The point here is that if the Christianity is right, you think you're right as a Christian. You won't think that if you are born in Islamic religion or Hindu religion or whatever, right? So how do you know your religion is the only true? But your religion is only there because you were born there for you, right? That's the argument. That this answer doesn't make sense. Now, for that, it's like okay, there can all countries are different, but if the all countries were not different, they would tie the religions, right? Now in Hinduism, there are elements that explains that everybody sees gods differently, basically implying that yes, there could be like Christianity, there could be something else, but there's different version of the same god they're seeing differently. In the end, there is only one god type of way. So you can answer this if you want to stay in your belief system in that way. But that answer of you be an atheist, that doesn't work.
By their context. How do you know which religion is true? Well, everyone, religious or not, has faith in a certain worldview. It's just that some worldviews are called religions and some are secular. But everyone has to ask the question of which worldview best explains the world. There's no scientific proof that God exists. Well, by definition, science can only prove things inside the natural world, and by definition, God is something outside the natural world. So science can neither prove nor disprove God.
Well, science can actually prove like virtual particles, which is, in quantum world, which is not yet there, right? So science is not a thing, right? People like, oh, this is science and this is that. No, science is not a thing. Science is literally explanation of everything. Now, if if somehow proof does come, like, if let's just say Jesus walks down or whatever tomorrow, science will have a chapter on Jesus, because now that's part of science. Science is just like literal explanation of everything, right? Now, science can prove God, yes, obviously, but science is not complete yet. So, my answer to that would be, there's no scientific proof of that God exists. Yes, but like science is not complete yet. I think most atheists go. It's not like I don't believe in God. It's like there is no evidence of it yet. So right now I'll just not think of it. I'll only think of it, what is true or not. It's like, I forgot his name. Who's like, biggest I guess atheist who battles all these religious people, but it's like, biologist, right? I forgot it, from Britain. What is his name, man? Why am I forgetting it? Yeah, he said like, okay, I don't believe in all this. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in ghosts and things. But at the same time, I won't sleep in a house that has a reputation of being haunted. So basically like that. There's no proof, so I'm not going to think of it. But it's like not everything's not proven until science book says like everything's done when closes, right? Everything's open, I guess.
There's no evidence of anything supernatural. Well, that's just not accurate. There are medically documented cases of people with demonic possession speaking in languages they don't know, for example, and people with near-death experiences getting information they never had access
Yeah,
to.
that's not
The
proven.
Bible has contradictions. Okay, you think you found an apparent contradiction that the church hasn't known about for 2,000 years? Every apparent contradiction can be explained by understanding just a little bit of theology. The Gospels were anonymous.
I don't want to pause too much. This video will be much longer, but yeah, that's the one thing I've noticed so far watching, that Bible is very open-ended. Everything is like open, which is like I said, like that's why Bible can have a long longevity for even thousands of years. So contradictions are not really contradictions, because even those meanings are open, right? So something will be like, oh, there's a contradiction. No, but this said this, which could mean anything type of way. So yeah, that's something.
Okay, anonymous doesn't mean we have no idea who wrote them. It just means the names of the authors aren't signed in the text itself. But we literally have writings from church fathers who knew the apostles and can verify that they indeed wrote the books named after them. The Gospels misquote Jesus. Now, it's true that a lot of secular scholars think the Gospels are a mix of real quotes from the historical Jesus and fake quotes added by the church, but none of them can agree on which quotes are legit and which are not, so we can discard their opinions. Jesus never claimed to be God. Yes, he did. He didn't say, I am God, worship me, but he showed that he was God in many places in all four Gospels by doing things that only God can do.
My answer to that would be Wendigoon's video, right? Where Jesus' name itself means that I'm the one or something. I forgot what it is, but basically that in itself implies that I'm God or something, right? I'm pretty sure, right? I'm pretty sure that was Jesus, right? No, Messiah. Messiah means that, right? I don't know. Something related to Jesus literally means I'm the one or something in Hebrew or something, right? The Wendigoon's video was awesome.
It's true that he didn't walk around before his resurrection claiming to be God, because he wanted people to figure it out themselves. That's why he kept saying, who do you say that I am? However, after his resurrection, people figured out that he was God, and Jesus congratulated them. The later one of the Gospels was written, the more divine it makes Jesus seem, so we can extrapolate that Jesus was originally a human figure who got made more divine over time. Alright, maybe some Gospels emphasize Jesus' divinity more than others, but what about Paul's letters that fully confess the divinity of Jesus and were also written before any of the Gospels? So that breaks your pattern. The Bible supports slavery. No, it doesn't. Just because there's slavery in the Bible doesn't mean the Bible supports it. There are some Old Testament verses that could be interpreted as condoning slavery, but Jesus himself said that the Old Testament made accommodations to people's sinful state. And also, slave owners in the American South had slave Bibles for their slaves to read, but it omitted a lot of the real Bible, so if the Bible actually did support slavery, this wouldn't have been necessary. Christianity supported
I mean, I don't know about that, right? I'm pretty sure there are quotes in the Bible literally point blank talks about slavery, like you should like, whatever to your master, this and that. Then again, it's the time was that it was just normal, right? But even then, like, atheists would question basically like, okay, if God knows everything, wouldn't God condemn slavery? Why is it saying like that? Shouldn't he just say like slavery is wrong? So yeah, these are the type of questions like, I don't know.
Slavery. Well, sure, some Christians did, but all human civilizations have had slavery. Christian civilization was the first one to abolish it on moral grounds. The fact that you're against slavery is due to Christian influence. Also, most organizations fighting modern day slavery are Christian. God killed tons.
I think their point is that it's not about the religion. It's about like if Christianity is real, if God is real, why would slavery even a thing? Like from the start, right? Shouldn't it be just like from the point where Jesus first were like, okay, all men are equal. Why are you doing this type of way? That's what that point is, I think.
Of people in the Bible. Well, it's actually way more than that. God numbers everyone's days. He's the giver of life, so he can take it, especially if people sin. Atheist
That's a
countries
good
are more
answer.
prosperous. Yes, it's true that Northern European countries are very prosperous and very secular, but correlation doesn't equal causation. It's not like atheism causes prosperity, it's that prosperity causes atheism because
All of the what? Atheist countries are more prosperous. They're more happy. Prosperous? I don't know. West, Western countries like British, US, lots of European, they're all mostly Christian and they are the most prosperous. If you mean happy, that would be different. Yeah, sure, like Scandinavian countries, they are more happy. That's different. You can happy with basically nothing, I guess. But prosperous means like you're rich in everything. And that's just not true. Christian countries are more prosperous, I think.
when people have comfortable lives, they don't feel a need to depend on God. But why are these particular countries so prosperous in the first place? They may be secular now, but they're rooted in generations and generations of Protestant Christianity. If you want an example of a country that's atheist and not rooted in Christianity, look at communist China. There's 4,000 gods that people believe in, and you're atheist to 3,999 of them. I just go one god further. Okay, this isn't the gotcha that you think it is, because the question of whether some sort of God exists is fundamentally different from the question of which religion is right about God. If God created everything, then who created God?
Yeah, his point is right. Like saying like 4,000 God exists, which like not really much more if you're gonna count all the gods, but all the gods that exist in the world of all different religions. But that's just mostly Hinduism. It's like ridiculous number of gods. But yeah, it's different to be atheist and different to believe in different God. Because if you believe in different God, you still like the concept of God. Atheist means I don't believe in. First of all, most atheists, I think, especially smart ones, with some brain cell in their head, they don't point blank say like, okay, if there is no God, I believe in it, because that would be a stupid statement. You can't do everything. They're like, okay, I'm just gonna go with what evidence there is, and based on evidence, there's no evidence of God yet. So right now, I'm not gonna believe in God, but if the evidence comes, sure, I'll believe in God. That's their mentality, right? They're like, belief is not something I can go by. Knowing humans lie, right? So just like, have belief is not a thing I can have. That's what atheists go by, I think. And that's why people, when they like become more and more intelligent, more and more scientific, learn about things, how world works and everything, they become atheists. Not because they don't want to believe in God. It's like I can basically know what a metal is made of. I know how sun works. I know how to make all these things. I can turn plastic into some awesome thing. I know knowledge of all this. So I'll just go by what knowledge I have. Not that I know everything or I know there is no God. It's just like not now, that type of way.
Well, God is defined as the uncaused causer. Everyone knows there needs to be a first cause at the beginning of the chain of all events in the universe, and it makes a lot more sense for that first cause to be a personal God who caused things for a reason, rather than some random impersonal force. Science disproves God. Well, actually, the church invented modern science. All the founders of the scientific revolution deeply believed in God, and medieval theologians laid the groundwork for modern science by saying the world was governed by an intelligent creator.
Yeah, I don't like his answer to this. This same thing I said before about the war things. If everything's religion, every country, every place is religion, religion is basically everything around you. Religion institutions are the one who's going to start something, right? So Jesuit priests of, Vatican Pope, they are scientists, they did a lot of things, I know that. But then again, science can trace back all the way to Greeks. Christianity wasn't even there. Modern science, yeah, it kind of can make sense because all the like Western countries are Christian, right? They're becoming atheists slowly now, but they were like all Christian. So yeah, and as far as science disprove gods, no, it doesn't. Science has no proof of God right now, but science doesn't know everything. Science doesn't know like Big Bang is completely 100%. Science doesn't know start of everything. Until science figure all that out, science can't disprove God, and we don't even know if we can do that. We might hit our limitation, right? It's not that we can't discover things. It's like we physically might come to a level where like we can go further. Right now, like we need a particle accelerator at the like size of like I don't even know like something like Mars's orbit or something size of that particle accelerator just to like go further in the research we are doing in quantum quantum mechanics and things like that. So I don't know where we might come to a point like maybe we're not investing a lot of money now type of way.
That means we can understand the world with our intelligence, and studying God led to studying the world because the world is God's creation. God is just used to fill in the gaps of things that science can't explain yet. Well, actually, God is the reason for everything, even things that science can explain. It's not one or the other. It's not like everything's explained by either science or.
See, the thing with all this answer is like okay, you can like God is a thing, sure. What is the proof of it? Okay, sure, there's no proof of it. So let's just start from the point where like, okay, what proof we have. Now when he said like God is just used to fill in the gap, the gods of the gap type argument, and that is true, right? People even claim that dark energy is God. Until dark energy, we realize that it's not, then we'll move on to something else, right? So his argument like God created everything. Now that's the point atheism with, there is no evidence of anything God related or God created everything. So I don't know if this answers it. As far as God is just used to fill in the gaps, I would answer like, I mean, yeah, look, nobody's answer to anything. You don't have answer to anything, just like religious people don't have answer to anything, right? So religious people is based on belief, so obviously it makes sense that they would like see anything that is no proof of, or there is no real discovery of yet, they would see that as God's thing. That's not that far off, I guess. They've done that all the time, but they're not really wrong because their whole thing is based on belief, right? So I don't see the issue there.
God, and the more science can explain, the less God can explain. Really, science can explain almost everything, but God is still behind it all, because science explains the how, and God explains the why. If God is good, why can't he destroy all evil? Well, he eventually will. Why can't he do it now? Because he'd have to destroy you. Why does God let any bad things happen? Because we deserve it. Well, animals don't sin, so why do they suffer? Well, the Bible says all things will be restored, so if God is good, we can assume that they will be compensated. How do you know that God isn't evil instead? Well, because evil is not a thing the way good is. Just like cold is just a lack of heat, and dark is just a lack of light, evil is just a lack of good. And for good to be objective, it needs to come from God.
I mean, I don't know about that. I thought evil is just lack of good. No, that's not true. I mean, look, if you don't do good, then you're idle. That's something. Evil is like Hitler, a serial killer, basically doing like some sadist who does unthinkable thing to somebody. That's not lack of good. That's like going in some different direction. So evil is a real thing. Now, obviously, he might give answer based on like what Christianity says evil is, but just from like, let's just say neutral point of view, who doesn't believe in anything or nothing, just neutral, what is evil, what is good? That no, evil is not lack of good, right? So I don't know, this is weird. And as far as like uh you know basically why doesn't God kill evil? He would have to kill you, sure. Why do you suffer? Because you deserve it. Just if God could think God is control of everything, one would think that okay, like why all these hopes, right? Why would killing evil would kill you if God has control over everything? Wouldn't the God just kill evil and save you? Wouldn't just God not make you suffer? Wouldn't just God make you in a way that you don't deserve to suffer? Now you can have answer to all that, but this question will still be there. There is no answer to this. Only answer would be like only God knows. Only God knows. Only that's the only answer, right? This is something that we can't understand yet, or something. So there you go. That is the only answer that makes sense.
So a God who is objectively evil is logically impossible. Can God make a rock he can't lift? Well, you're just asking if God can contradict himself, like can God lie, or can God change, or can God make another God? And the answer to all those things is no. God being all-powerful means he can do anything to things outside himself. It doesn't mean that he can do anything to himself or that he can contradict himself. Why did God let evil exist at all? So he could be glorified in defeating it. Triumph over evil is a greater good than evil having just never existed. Religion is just wishful thinking. Well,
Okay, I don't like that answer. You just made God look like God needs to be praised or something. It's like, you know, you just seem making God like God is ego problem type of way. Like, God all this created something. So when God defeated, it's like creating a problem and then solving just so you can be praised. I don't see it that way, right? Again, I come to like some things only God knows that we can understand. Let's just leave it at that.
if that were true, then the Bible wouldn't be all about how much we all suck. Psychology explains why you believe in God. So what? If God is real, we should expect there to be some psychological or social benefit to believing in him. Spiritual experiences can be explained.
I like psychology, but psychology is one of those like scientific. First of all, we don't understand brain most of it because nobody's gonna say like, "Here's my brain," like prod it, cut it. Nobody's gonna do that. So we barely understand brain, and we don't even understand consciousness because of that, all right? And based on that psychology is just like winging it because how else you're gonna use anything because we don't even know what consciousness is. We don't even know brain is, right? So that's why a lot of psychologists like go out of their way to overanalyze things. So psychology is one thing like I don't know. It's like some psychologists went to like Neil deGrasse Tyson said it like you're depressed or something because you see this vast world and the way you talk it just feels like you're very nihilistic and depressed. It's like no man, that's not. I see world as this and earth as a speck because it is what it is, not because I'm depressed. So psychology is like something I respect it, but yeah, it's very hard tool for people to build. Let's just say.
By brain chemicals. Well, romantic experiences can also be explained by brain chemicals, but that doesn't mean your wife isn't real. So spiritual experiences being explained by brain chemicals doesn't mean that God isn't real. Well, drug trips show that spiritual experiences are from the brain.
That is a good answer.
Well, people who have had both drug trips and near-death experiences say that they're completely different categories of feeling. The story of Jesus was copied from the story of Horus or some other ancient character. Okay, dude, that's a Reddit atheist-level myth. Even atheist scholars know that that's silly. Faith is the opposite of logic and reason. No, it's not. Faith just means trust. Anytime you eat food, you're having faith that it's not poisoned, even if you can't scientifically prove it. If you're married, you have faith that your wife loves you, even if you can't.
Different faiths, man. Look, faith based on you have nothing, not as like any type of thing to go by, but just have faith because someone says it, and that someone might be human, right? There's a possibility might be human, and that some can lie because we know humans lie. So religious faith is different than faith of taking leap every day and having unknown in your life, right? When you eat food, you know that there is higher chance you're going to be fine because there's evidence of it past people eating food and being fine. So that faith is different.
Scientifically prove that. And if you tried to scientifically prove it, she'd probably get very mad at you because it would mean you didn't trust her. Evolution proves God didn't create the world. Well, not necessarily. God often works through natural processes in the Bible, and for all of church history, there have been prominent Christians.
I like this answer. The evolution proves God didn't make the world. Now, same thing as like some hardcore Christians, which I don't even know if they're hardcore Christian or just like like different type of religious people. But people just point blank denies medicine and say God will heal. Some kid has a cancer, and they're like, I'm going to deny medicine to my kid because I have faith in God. Did God tell you that God's going to heal your kid or something? That you're special? No. There are medicine out there. How do you know God didn't put medicine there? If God created everything, God put medicine there. Just fucking use the medicine. That kind of way. So evolution proves God didn't exist? Not really. God could have created this process that is like sufficient, so God doesn't have to intervene all that autonomous system. That's why you can argue that all evolution is just like manages itself, right? All the eco worlds manage itself, so God doesn't have to like intervene all the time. And knowing how big world is, it kind of makes sense in that way.
Theologians who have had a more metaphorical interpretation of Genesis, even well over 1,000 years before Darwin existed. Christianity only spread because of military conquest. Well, eventually they did do military conquest, but for the first 300 years of Christianity, it was illegal, and it took over the Roman Empire despite that because of how popular it became. Constantine invented.
I mean, yeah, obviously military conquest did do it, but before it was like missionaries and things like that. It wasn't always military. And in a lot of places, there was no military. It's just like basically, have you heard about Jesus? That's more than military. So, no, that's not right.
What we now know of as Christianity. Again, Reddit atheist level myth. Atheists can do better than that. Listen to an actual scholar. If Christianity is true, why are there so many denominations of it? Well, yeah, there are a lot of denominations, but the things they agree on are a lot more significant than the things they disagree on. There's no evidence for Jesus.
Well, humans are still humans and they can be an idiot. So, yeah, people will interpret things differently. So, denomination, there you go. That's the easiest way to answer that, I guess.
Outside the Bible. Well, that's not true. There's the ancient Jewish historian Josephus who wrote about Jesus, and he's one of the reasons why even secular scholars know Jesus historically existed. You really think God made billions of galaxies with billions of stars in each of them just to have a personal relationship with you? Yes.
Yes, is awesome. I mean, God is infinite. God can have infinite abilities. Why not all that, right? A number that you can, let's just say God has ability that is like in Google numbers. There you go, right? Where a world is really small. How about that? Whatever, that was all atheist arguments answered in 10 minutes, but generally, if you like my next one, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.